It started as an ordinary morning in a quiet suburban neighborhood, the kind of place where people waved at each other while collecting their mail, and where the loudest sound was usually a lawnmower. The community was under the rule of an overly zealous HOA, one that prided itself on keeping standards high, and for most residents, that meant following rules that bordered on the ridiculous. But among all the nitpicking enforcers, one person stood above the rest: Karen. Karen wasn't just a neighbor. She was the self-proclaimed protector of the neighborhood, armed with a clipboard, a smartphone camera, and a permanent scowl. She wasn't on the HOA board, but that didn't stop her from acting like she ran it. Every week she patrolled the street, searching for infractions. Untrimmed hedges, faded mailboxes, cars parked too close to the curb. Nothing escaped her wrath. And unfortunately for me, her newest mission was my parking space. My driveway sat right next to hers, with a small shared patch of pavement between us. The HOA bylaws were clear. It was open use, first come, first served. But one day, Karen decided she needed that spot for her second car. At first, it was just notes under my windshield wipers. "This area is private. Please stop parking here." I ignored them. Then came the photos she sent to the HOA, accusing me of unauthorized parking. When that didn't work, she escalated, dragging lawn chairs into the space to block it. Once, she even parked her friend's car there for 2 days straight, just to claim ownership. I tried being polite. I reminded her it was a shared space, that no one owned it. She scoffed and told me to take it up with the board. The board, of course, wanted nothing to do with it. "This sounds like a neighborly dispute. Please handle it amicably." So I tried. I really did. But things got worse. One afternoon, I came home to find a fresh coat of white paint on the curb, letters neatly stenciled reading, "Private parking, reserved for resident Karen." She had even added a small wooden sign by the sidewalk, nailed into the grass, declaring the same thing. I just stood there in disbelief. When I asked her about it, she said, "It's official now. You can't park there anymore." Then she turned and strutted away, her sunglasses perched like a crown of entitlement. That night, as I stared out my window at that ridiculous sign, something in me snapped. Wasn't going to argue anymore. I wasn't going to call the HOA again. No, I was going to solve this. And I already knew how. If Karen wanted that parking space so badly, maybe it was time to make it disappear. I started by studying the HOA rule book. Page after page of tedious regulations, the kind of bureaucratic nonsense Karen loved to quote. But then, like poetic justice, I found exactly what I needed. Any unapproved modifications to community property shall be subject to removal or restoration at the violator's expense. And what was her little painted sign? An unapproved modification. The first move was subtle. I took detailed photos of her painted curb and that ugly wooden sign, time-stamped and geotagged. Then, using an anonymous email, I sent them to the HOA with a polite message. "Concerned resident here. Someone has painted over shared community property and added signage without approval. Could this affect property values?" Nothing grabs an HOA's attention faster than the words, "property values." The next day, I received a copy of an HOA alert sent to all residents, a reminder that curbside painting and unauthorized signage were strictly prohibited. It was deliciously satisfying, but that was just the beginning. While I waited for the board to process the violation, I started preparing the real revenge, one that would leave her speechless. Late at night, I bought supplies: heavy-duty landscaping fabric, soil, and turf grass patches. Over the course of a week, while she was away visiting family, I worked under the cover of darkness. Each night, a little more progress. First, I laid the fabric over the parking spot. Then, a layer of gravel for leveling. Finally, I topped it with grass and compacted soil until it looked perfectly natural, like a small continuation of the lawn. I even blended the edges into her yard to make it seamless. By the time I was done, You couldn't tell a parking space had ever existed there. That Friday, Karen returned. I watched from my living room window as her car slowed to a crawl. Her face twisted in confusion. The curb she had painted was gone. The asphalt, gone. In its place, a lush green patch of grass. She stepped out of her car, inspecting it like a detective at a crime scene. She touched the ground, kicked the turf, looked around in disbelief. I almost felt bad. Almost. That same afternoon, the HOA made their inspection. I saw them standing there, clipboards in hand, shaking their heads. They took photos, noted the violation, and ordered that any unapproved modifications must be restored to their original condition. In other words, fix it, Karen. But what could she fix? There was nothing to paint over anymore. The evidence had vanished. When she complained, the HOA emailed her back. We found no record of this parking spot existing. Also, please refrain from damaging lawn areas. The neighborhood started whispering. People walked by her house, pointing and laughing quietly. She stormed around yelling that someone had stolen her curb. But without proof, without photos, without anything left, she had no case. And yet, I wasn't finished. There was still one final move to make. One that would expose her hypocrisy to everyone in the neighborhood. Karen didn't calm down. She doubled down. For a week straight, she paced the street, snapping pictures of the grass patch and sending emails to anyone who'd listen. The HOA, the city, even the local police. She demanded an investigation. She claimed someone vandalized her property. The HOA ignored her. The police dismissed her complaint. The city told her it was community land and she had no claim. That's when I decided to finish what I started. I logged onto our neighborhood's private Facebook group and made a simple post. Funny thing, someone in the neighborhood painted private parking on shared property. Now it's gone. Must be magic. Then I attached a set of photos, the before shots of her painted curb and sign, and the after photo of the perfect green lawn. Within hours, the post exploded. Dozens of comments poured in. OMG, is this about her? Finally, someone stood up to that lady. This is the best HOA drama I've ever seen. Neighbors laughed. Memes were made. Someone even edited a photo of Karen holding her HOA rules clipboard like a protest sign, with the caption, "Where did my parking spot go?" It didn't take long before someone uploaded a short video version to YouTube titled, "The Karen Who Lost Her Parking Spot to Karma." It went viral locally. Even the HOA joined the fun, sending out an official statement. Unauthorized alterations to community property are strictly prohibited. We commend residents who help preserve neighborhood standards. That was their polite way of saying, nice job, whoever did this. As for Karen, she didn't show her face much anymore. Her car ended up parked half a block away since no one wanted to risk being her next target. Eventually, the HOA landscaped the spot officially, turning it into a small decorative flower bed for aesthetic consistency. Everyone started calling it Karen's Garden. Sometimes, when new neighbors moved in, they'd point to that neat little patch between driveways and ask what it was for. And every time, the answer was the same. Oh, that? That's where Karma parks. Life in the neighborhood went back to normal after that. No more notes, no more cones, no more ridiculous power trips. Just quiet, peaceful suburbia, with one missing parking spot and one unforgettable legend. Karen still lived there, technically, but she kept her head down now. Occasionally, I'd catch her watering the flower bed she once tried to own. Maybe she was trying to make peace with it, or maybe she just couldn't stand seeing someone else's handiwork thrive in what she once claimed as hers. Either way, it didn't matter. The battle was over. The HOA was silent, and the neighborhood was finally free from her reign of pettiness. In the end, I didn't need to raise my voice, file complaints, or argue. I just had to let karma and a little creativity do the work, because sometimes the best revenge isn't confrontation. It's making the problem disappear.